One super important relationship skill is the ability to see clearly who is emotionally available and who is not. Now, if you grew up with parents who neglected you or were missing from your life, you may have developed a blind spot where your red flag detector should be flashing in lights across your face. This is not the one. This is not the person. They don't want to spend time with you. They don't love you. They can't be with you. They don't want to be with you. And they can't be a partner, right? If they can't even participate in ordinary communication about how the relationship is going, that is a cornerstone of having a relationship. They're not available. Being able to be emotionally open with each other about feelings and expectations is a non-negotiable thing in a committed relationship. But for people with childhood PTSD, the fear of having the conversation, coupled with a willingness to just sort of spackle over the holes where someone else won't communicate with you, this will lead time and time again to hurt and grief. And what you thought was love didn't have a structure, it turns out, to support love. The structure for that was all up in here, where you imagined what it could be like, but you knew on some level that's not what it was. You knew that if you talked about what you really want or asked questions about where the relationship was going, it would ruin everything. Okay, that's a sign. So sterilizing a relationship in this way, bleaching out any truth because truth would make it disintegrate, that's also a form of limerence. Limerence is a state of obsessive or infatuated love that can only thrive when it's fed by longing, unrequited love, fantasy love, lost love. These are all perfect mediums for an infection of limerence to flourish. So starving a relationship of truth and communication is like starving it of oxygen. It's like when you take a little Tupperware container of black beans in the fridge and you just push it to the back for a few weeks. It goes bad. Do not open that container. Throw it out, right? Don't let that happen to your relationship. It needs air. Love that can't breathe prevents you from finding love that can, from finding real love. Love needs truth. Love needs you to be real. And I can teach you how to build up your emotional muscles for that. I have a letter today from a man I'll call Charles, and he writes, got the fairy pencil, okay. Hey Anna, I have CPTSD. My dad was physically and emotionally abusive, narcissistic, and completely unavailable throughout my childhood, and my mom enabled the abuse. Ooh, bad setup there. I was queer and in a really hostile, homophobic environment. I've never been able to hold down a relationship for a few months, and I've never been in any sort of relationship where we sat down and made a commitment of any kind. My first boyfriend resented it when I wanted to pin down the terms of our relationship, and I've become phobic about having the talk ever since. I'm going to circle a few things and come back on a second reading. I recently began seeing an older man. He's got so many of the things that I've been actively seeking in a relationship, but he's gun shy. He's a few years out from a nasty divorce with a malignant narcissist, and he's admitted that it has made him very protective of his time and very slow to move into a serious relationship. Meanwhile, I'm going through a major career breakthrough that, while excruciating, has been really discombobulating. He's incredibly supportive. He's really proud of me. He's certain I have great success in my future. But since we began dating a little more seriously in the fall, and it's now 6 months later, it sounds like, I've only hung out with him in person 3 times. He's been going through a lot of work, and he had a business trip recently, so I get it. The last time I saw him, about a month ago, I said that I'd like to see him in person more often, and we still don't have the next get-together on the calendar. Just the other day, we were flirting, and he reciprocated again a desire to have sex, but never responded with a date when I asked him to let me know the where and when. So I'm finding myself a little disappointed. He still, every once in a while, voices disbelief that I'm into him, and I've been really communicative about the fact that I am. I asked if there's anything I can do to make him feel more sure of it, and he said no. I've been very clear. Obviously, given the age gap, there's a different level of need for sex, but still, I really don't feel satisfied with only seeing him once every couple of months. He lives about an hour away by public transit, so it is a petty long-distance relationship. In my mind, the ideal scenario would be to set each other as our primary partner and set guidelines that cultivate trust and open communication with regard to our sex with other people. But it really does seem like he's not willing to move the needle himself here. And if he's interested in going deeper with me, I'd like to show more initiative. Is there a graceful, appropriate, and adult way to express my feelings here without rushing things? It's important to me that at a time when so much is uncertain in my life, whatever dating situation I'm in feels safe and secure and nurturing. At the moment, I'm feeling a little activated and hyper-vigilant, but then this is probably the most mature and adult dating situation I've ever been in, so I don't want to foreclose on the opportunity to voice my feelings and see how he responds. More than anything, I want to be able to sit down with him and hash it out in a way that's productive and accommodating for both of us. And the idea of being like, we need to talk, makes me feel nauseated. What do I do? Thank you. Charles. Okay, Charles, I'm going to see what I can do to help you here. This is, yes, I hear the limerence here. So thank you for telling me about what happened when you were a kid, because I think that this explains a lot about why you are seeing what you're seeing, why some things look to you bigger than they are and some things look to you not as big a deal as they are. And that's what abuse and neglect does to you. So you had a first boyfriend who resented it whenever you wanted to pin down the terms of the relationship. And you've become phobic about having the talk ever since. All right, so what I'm hearing is that you have a very serious fear of abandonment. That if you are yourself and you have your own feelings and needs and hopes for a relationship, that somehow that will automatically get you rejected, that it's unacceptable. And the thing is, what you're saying you would like is to have a relationship where there are terms. And your terms are actually the most wide open. Like, I usually don't even take letters from people who want to have some sort of polyamorous arrangement. I understand that, like, in the gay community, that's a little more common. It's not something I would ever be able to cope with. So I don't have experience to give you there. What I can see is that you're putting a lot of stock in somebody. Okay, so here's the thing. The guy will only see you every 2 months, and you are developing a vision of a future with him where you hope to be like primary to each other. And you're also being extremely understanding about how he works. He had a bad relationship in the past. You know, he's very busy. What it all adds up to is he's unavailable. He is just not emotionally available. It sounds like he would like to have occasional sex. He's kind to you. His encouragement of you, I can tell it means something. This big career thing that's going on for you, it's a big deal. You had a breakthrough. You know, this is very big. And I think sometimes with CPTSD and when we just didn't have that kind of support at home, we kind of crave to have people. And this guy being older than you, it's hard to ignore that, you know, he stands in as a father to just sort of approve of you and go, that's great, you know, I believe in you, I'm so glad you have this opportunity. He's standing more in that role of approver, and he's not like standing in the role as partner. And the long distance, the every 2 months, the nothing on the calendar thing for a month, I'm not hearing it. This sounds like, it sounds like your blind spot. For you, it's interesting because what you read this as is it's the most mature, sensible relationship you've ever had. And I'm guessing that it feels that way just because there's not a lot of screaming and yelling or drama. There's no drama. It's nice that there's no drama. But a mature relationship, here's what I want you to set your sights on. It's full of love. The person is in love with you, wants to be with you, is totally interested in what makes you happy. It wants to talk about the relationship too. I mean, I'm calculating it's been like 6 months that you've been seeing this guy. Yeah, you get to talk about the relationship. You get to do that. If a relationship cannot bear that conversation of to just like openly and honestly, you know, say the thing. You know what the fear is, right? When you have a pretty good feeling that someone loves you and wants to be with you, it's not scary to have that conversation. The reason it's scary is because you know what the answer is. It's because you know it's just not going to go well. That's not how they feel. That's not what they want. And your abandonment wound doesn't want to face it, and so can just jump through hoops to keep rationalizing why, oh no, actually this is sensible and I'm just being too needy or something. You're not being too needy. You're being sensible. But you're attached to somebody who just wants this occasional fling. This is just, he's not available. It's pretty clear. Mature and adult. Mature and adult. Yeah. I'm just really going to encourage you, Charles, to take the time to write this down. If you want, take my dating course, because that starts with like a guided process to write down what you really want. So you, in your grown-up self, and especially with all this wonderful stuff happening in your career, you get to dream of your ideal relationship. Like, what would make you feel most loved and supported to become completely who you really are? What would that be? And don't be afraid to name it. You don't have to tell anybody yet, but don't be afraid to write it down and name it, because by naming it, you begin to open up the possibility in yourself of seeing yourself in that future. And once you see it, you can't really unsee it, and it makes it a lot harder to crap fit your way into a non-relationship with somebody who's, it's just, this is, I gotta say, this guy sounds, I'm questioning, is he married or something? Is he hiding you from somebody? This is way too, something's really not right here. So I encourage you, Charles, be more communicative. This thing where you get quiet, I have no doubt you learned it in childhood, not to set off your dad, right? Not to set off all the abuse. Don't be gay, don't say anything, don't make him mad, and, just disappear, and then everyone will love you. But did that work? No, and it won't work now. Somebody's going to love you because of who you are, of who you really are, and even the funky parts, the parts where you're difficult or, kind of traumatized or emotionally kind of sometimes, right? Because that's who we are. That's who we are. And we still get to be loved. And especially when we work on the parts that are hard for other people, we can be easier to be with. It's not always easy to be with somebody with CPTSD. So that's what I suggest you do. Write down what you want. Get very clear, set your new bar at I get to communicate how I feel. It is never too soon to communicate how you feel. If you're getting really attached to somebody, and you have not had any conversation about what they're interested in with you, you're basically taking whole, chunks of your life, of your time on earth, and just giving them away for something that you didn't actually want. You can reserve that precious part of you, your time, your love. You can reserve it for somebody who fits what actually does make you happy. But I think you don't know that yet. I think you're not in touch with that yet. You're a little bit worried about not setting other people off like your first boyfriend, just flipped out on you. That was him, that was then. Don't worry. There's good people who do want communication. So I hope that helps you, Charles. We need to talk is our sacred, that's sacred. Those are powerful words of love. We need to talk. I'd like to talk. So you get to own those. For anybody watching this who really resonates with this, I have a video about how to get more clarity in a relationship. How do you ask those questions and have that talk? It's in this video right here, and I will see you very soon.